Welcome to the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. My name's Nick. Thanks so much for being here. We are approaching day number 30 in our stay-at-home order that we have here in the state of Wisconsin. And I've left the house maybe twice since this whole coronavirus thing started. And the first time I left, I just went to work to my office to get a few things. The second time I went to work and got some things from my office, but then went to Trader Joe's. That was an experience, folks. If you are at home and you're not going out much, it's a big shock. So I went to Trader Joe's and they had a line outside of the store. So you had to stand in line to get in because they were limiting how many people were in the store. Great. And again, everything I'm going to tell you, I'm in praise of Trader Joe's for doing, because in no way did I believe I was going to get infected by being at Trader Joe's. They did such a good job. But it was an odd experience because going from the free flow of in and out and dealing with people, this was an odd experience. So I'm waiting in line to get into the store. Everybody's about 6 feet apart, which was good. One woman was going off on how somebody coughed and didn't cover their mouth, and she was just freaking out. So that was kind of an experience. But then you get up to the front of the line, and they hand you a cart or a basket, and they wipe it down for you in front of you, so you know that you're getting a freshly wiped basket. And then you go in and do your shopping, and there are maybe 10 or 15 people in the whole entire store shopping, so that's kind of their limit on to how many people are allowed inside at one time. But once you get your groceries and you go up to the checkout line, there are actually squares taped to the floor about where you should stand. And probably if you guys have gone out and you've seen this, you're like, this is no big deal, Nick. This is like what happens. But for me, it was such a shock. So she takes my basket and she rings it up, and I had to stay on my square, not standing near the cash register. So if you're a price watcher and you want to make sure things ring up, this is not the time to go shopping, because you weren't allowed to look at the register while things were being rung up. So she tells me she's ready for payment, and then I'm allowed to step forward to the credit card machine, and she totally steps back. Like now she's 6 feet apart from me, and I swipe my card and all that, and then I have to move over to the end of the register to get my bag before she'll walk up and give me my receipt, and then I walk out the door. It was just a really odd experience. Very different. But that is the new normal. Hopefully it's not the new normal forever. I do worry about the fact that all these rights and liberties have been taken away from us. I do worry about getting them back. But I guess time will tell. I've had some interesting conversations because I'm scheduled to go to Comic-Con in July to do some interviews and do some work for the podcast. And they are now talking about doing maybe something virtually for Comic-Con this year, although the organizers of the festival have released statements saying that they are trying to figure out whether they're still going to have it or not. A lot of celebrities are probably going to be very cautious about wanting to go and be in a mass group of people so soon after things have calmed down. And I certainly hope by July they've calmed down. But I guess we'll see what happens. Before we move on to the show today, I just want to let you know that we are all over social media. We have a huge Facebook group. There's over 29,000 fans hanging out at Fancounters on Facebook. We do have a very small private group we're trying to get going called Sharpie Nation. So if you search for Sharpie Nation on Facebook, you can join that group. And lastly, if you want to send us an email, if you have a guest suggestion, they're not doing anything right now. I should be able to pretty much get anybody, I would think. You can send it to hello@fancounters.com. Very interested in talking more with the fans of the show. Those of you who are listening, I would love to hear from you, especially during this time. Send me a message of encouragement. Tell me something you like about the podcast, something you want to see changed, all of that. Now, today on the show, we've got Stephen Kramer Glickman, and you would know him from his role as Gustavo on Big Time Rush. He's here to talk to us about a brand new stand-up comedy album that he has coming out. It comes out, well, it's out now. Let's just put it that way, because we taped this interview a couple weeks ago. It's called Voices in My Head from the 800-Pound Gorilla Records, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that album and also some of his most crazy encounters with fans. Ladies and gentlemen, this happens at the end of the show, but you will not believe the story that Stephen tells us. Something that you kind of think is normal between celebrities and their fans, but this is confirmed. And we appreciate Stephen for being candid and honest with his answer. But you'll have to get to the end of the podcast to find out what that is. So thank you, Stephen, for joining us on the show today. He's here and coming up right now.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters with Nick and Elizabeth on the Podfix Network.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours. If I'm having dinner with my wife, don't sit down at my table. Don't follow me into the bathroom.
Can I take a picture? We're gonna. Oh my God.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
Well, guess what? I have a big surprise for you.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Stephen Kramer Glickman, thanks for being here on Fancounters. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
No problem. Now, I'm going to talk about something that we have in common first, because you have a podcast, just like Fancounters. Yours is called The Nighttime Show, where you interview celebrities and comedians, kind of like what we do. But you have over 160 episodes that people can binge. So start off telling us a little bit about that show.
Yeah, I mean, Nighttime Show is, it's kind of a fun, weird show. It's me and three other comedians, and most of the time it's me and two comedians that are interviewing a celebrity of any. And when I say celebrity, it could be it's usually someone who has been at the top of their game in their career at some point, whether it means that they are a famous musician or the zoo director for the LA Zoo, or it's, Lisa Loeb. Like, we've had a lot of different, fun people on. And, what's been nice about it is, more than anything else, is three of my best friends are the people that I do my show with. So, as an adult and as a comedian, the only time that I really see, other comedians is when we're doing stand-up shows together. Mm-hmm. And so with, doing a podcast, it's given us a way to kind of do things for each other. Like, for example, Michael Uslan was on our show, who produced all the Batman movies, and Joker, the one that just came out, and Dark Knight, all this stuff. Well, my friend Mike Black, who's on my podcast, he is a huge Batman fan. So we got Michael Uslan basically for him. Oh, because we knew that it would make his day to be able to talk to him. And then we did the same thing. My friend Matt Walker, who produces our show and hosts the show with me, Matt's been my best friend for 16 years. He's the biggest Star Trek fan on the planet. So we were able to get Michael Dorn, who played Worf on Next Generation, to come on the show, and he just he was just, nerd city, but then that gives me some room to be able to be like, hey, I want to have someone on the show that's like super weird and strange that not everyone else is going to be into, and they just have to deal with it, so it's fun, it gives us all an opportunity to hang out and see each other and make each other laugh and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Well, these podcasts are absolutely that's a good perk, is that if you can get somebody on the show that you can geek out on a little bit without letting them know that, of course, that's definitely a plus.
I am not good at doing that. No, I usually end up letting them know that, I've had like a real emotional connection to them for a million years, and it's super embarrassing. And, I'm not cool at not being, I'm not being as big a nerd as I am. But we just had Adam Pascal from the original cast of Rent on the show.
Nice.
And I'm a huge Broadway nerd, and I barely held it together. I was just losing my mind talking to him Broadway stuff. So
I've seen videos of you on red carpets. Jane Lynch walks by, Stan Lee's right next to you, and but to see you still geek out, that's kind of neat, actually.
Oh yeah, what's so fun too is that like who we geek out over is really it's not just based off of how famous a person is. It's the impact that person had on our lives.
Definitely.
So like when you meet I met the guy Robert Hayes who from the movie Airplane, and I could barely talk to him. I was so excited and such a huge nerd about it. But then, someone huge like like an Al Pacino or people like that. Like it gets people like that. Like they're so big that it's like, well, how are you even supposed to talk to them? Like, what do you Yeah, it's just like you have to be impressed, but you're like, what are we? I don't know what to talk to Al Pacino about.
Now, with your podcast, with having 3 co-hosts, even though they're your friends, like I'm at solo today because my partner is at home homeschooling her kids and she couldn't leave the house and all that, so which is fine.
Oh yeah.
But are you battling kind of for airtime with these guys, or do you have hand signals that you use to be like, all right, I got the next question, or how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, we kind of in the beginning there was a lot of that. We were stepping on each other. I mean, we're 167 episodes in, and we've recorded around 178 total. And like probably for the first like 20 episodes, we were stepping on each other left and right. Someone would make a joke and we would be stepping over it, or I'd want to try weird stuff. Oh, we should play a game with the guest. We should do this. We should do that. Like I had like a million different. We were all driving each other crazy, and then slowly, we kind of figured out how to do it. So, like, I think probably the first 10 episodes you listen to it, they're very manic and kind of like the energy is really, really weird. And then we start getting into like a groove, and a lot of it is listening to the guests and coming in with like weird amounts of knowledge and trying to hit them with weird stuff, because like we had the father from Family Ties on the show,
Michael Gross.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, look, we want to talk to you about something very important, but you played a father that really shaped America, and I think it's important for us to talk about your co-star Vanilla Ice, who played your son in the movie Cooler Than Ice. So what was that like to work on? And then he was like, what? Why are we talking about Vanilla Ice? And then we made him, and then he told stories about playing Vanilla Ice's dad in the movie that Vanilla Ice starred in. And it was way more fun than it just being like, of course we talked about Family Ties,
right?
But that's like the kind of stuff we try to do is hit them with like really out of date, strange facts about, like when we had the guy from Rent, one of the things that we asked about was the wrap party for Rent, the movie, was controversial at the time because they decorated the wrap party to look like the homeless camps of the Lower East Side. So they had like trash fires and then appetizers on tables, and everyone in the cast was like really upset. And I was just like, I just remember that, and I thought it was a weird thing to ask. And then it turned into a 20-minute conversation about, how the studio just didn't understand what they were trying to do. And it was just interesting, it was fun.
Yeah, some questions really can set off some weird answers, which I'm going to hit you up with one right now. Because obviously we know you from your time on Big Time Rush. And that set was famous because it had a swimming pool, which I think was custom built for the show. Am I right?
Yep. Yes. Oh, my God. You bet.
So we want to know unheard stories of the swimming pool, because I'm sure when the cameras were rolling and people went home for the day, that thing got some use. Am I right?
Yeah. So that swimming pool was built on stage 28 over at Paramount. To give you a little concept of space and time, stage 28 is where they shot Mork and Mindy, and it was across, like literally 15 feet away from Dr. Phil's TV show being shot, and the TV show Community was being shot across the hall from us. So we were sharing, walking space with the cast of Community, with all those folks. And then Glee was 3 stages over from us. So there was a pretty epic TV period where it was, Chevy Chase and Joel McHale and then, Jane
Lynch,
Jane Lynch and all those folks, and then Dr. Phil every once in a while walking by and being like, "All right, what y'all do?" And so we had this. They had literally dug into the ground and carved out a pool in the ground at Paramount Stage 28. And when you were on that stage, it felt like you were outdoors, or it was, nighttime during the day or daytime during the night, because they had this beautiful, cyc up, and then the place would be all lit up, and it just felt real. Like you could look in every direction, and it felt like you were on, it had the interior and exterior, and it all just had like this vibe of a real place, which was really cool. Probably the one really weird story about the pool is there was an episode where Gustavo, my character, had to run and do a cannonball into the pool, and they said, "Oh, we'll have a stunt guy do that." And I said, "You don't need to have a stunt guy do that."
No,
I can do it. Cannonball. Not an idiot. And they were like, "Yeah, no, we're gonna go with a stunt guy." And I was like, "Look, I will do a cannonball right now." And they were like, "Stephen, the pool is only, it's like almost 5 feet. It was like 4.5, 5 feet deep." They're like, "If you do a cannonball, you're gonna hit the bottom and it's gonna hurt." And I was like, "I think I know how to do a cannonball, okay?" And I ran, did a cannonball, landed on my left hip, and immediately felt a shooting pain down my side, and came out from the pool, and they were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. I am fine." And they were like, "The producer just walked in. He wants to make sure that you can do the cannonball. So can you do it again?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I can." And I ran, jumped in, did the cannonball, landed on my right hip, and when I got out of the pool, I walked out of the pool like I had been hit by a car. And they were like, "Yeah, there's no way you're doing this. Also, you should go see the medic because
right
you
away.
look like you're in a lot of pain." So then the guy comes in to do the cannonball, the stunt guy, and he turned to me. First of all, he was a very large man. Okay, There's nothing worse than being fat and then meeting your stunt guy, because my stunt guy was great, but it's very uncomfortable because you don't want to say, "Who else have you been a stunt guy for?" You don't want to know who else's body he doubled for. And so, but I asked.
But you do
I
want to know
had
in a way.
Emotional problems. You want to know? You kind of want to know. So I was like, oh, who else have you done similar for? And he was like, oh, I did Norm on Cheers. I was like, okay, all right, okay. Who else? And he was like, you remember the fat guy on Seinfeld that was like Newman? Yeah, I did him in Jurassic Park. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stop asking questions. Also, I need to get a trainer and lose weight. This is terrible. But he told me that he was like, oh, I appreciate you not doing the stunt. And I was like, why? And he was like, because if you don't do the stunt, then I get paid to do the stunt. Like I get paid like a flat rate, but I get paid a lot more if I actually do the stunt. So thanks for letting me do it. And I was like, oh, and then from that point on, I didn't realize that that's how that works. So once I knew that, then I just let him do stunts for me for the rest of the time. And I never got in his way again. But, that was, the pool was a lot of fun. I had a lot of good times at that place.
I want to ask you a question about being on that show when you're around other actors, because I've always wondered this. I've never asked it. So here we go. My curiosity's gotten the best of me. Is there a hierarchy among the industry that kind of depends what project you're working on? I mean, you were on a kid's show at that time. And then when you go out and maybe you're up against somebody who's starring in a cop drama or something like that, do they feel like they're better than you because they're doing adult TV and you're doing kids TV?
Oh, 1,000%, yes.
Really?
100%, yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, working on a Nickelodeon or Disney television show as a live action Disney show or a live action Nick show has like a horrendous stigma that comes with it, where people just assume that you are like a ridiculous clown person that can't do anything of real depth, and they just assume that, and you definitely have to work to prove yourself otherwise to people, and you make a lot of conscious choices to try and change that as best as you possibly can. It is not, definitely some weirdness there. It's not as bad as being a reality star, but it's
okay.
in the realm. There's it's like reality stars like the worst, and then like a step up from that is maybe like I don't know, something else. Being a host of a game show maybe would be like a step up from being a reality star, or being on a game show as a performer is like a step up. Maybe like if you're trying to get taken seriously, being on The Voice is or American Idol or something like that is, it's hard. Those are great credits, but they're definitely, it's more difficult to be taken seriously. And then it's like Nickelodeon and Disney and that type of stuff. And then above that would probably, be sitcoms, like being a sitcom actor with now sitcoms are, a little more respected and stuff, but they're still, breaking out of the sitcom world into single camera stuff or into, dramas, right. I think. And then you kind of keep stepping up until I think top of the game, as far as like TV is concerned, top of the game is probably like, TV shows that are super, super well respected, like Handmaid's Tale and, Westworld and HBO and those like Amazon shows like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, shows like that are just like, they're, where they're millions and millions and millions of dollars an episode to make. Right. I think that's there's like a real hierarchy. I think it's probably eased up a little now than it was then because, when I was on Nickelodeon, like Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all that stuff, it was very brand new and very early. And a lot of those lines have been kind of pushed around. They're not as solid as they used to be, but it definitely used to feel like that. And, I was super lucky. I got cast on Workaholics on Comedy Central literally the week after Big Time Rush ended. And I got to play Adam Devine's gay lover on the show and try to get a fivesome going between him and the rest of the cast. And that was like super, super fun. And it set me up for a lot of cool stuff that I've gotten to do since. But yeah, I mean, I don't regret, don't get me wrong, I don't regret a single job or moment in the, being at Nickelodeon. It like completely changed my life and I absolutely love it. But it definitely did, definitely had a stigma.
Gotcha.
It, for sure.
I wondered if that was real or not, so I appreciate you talking to me about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is, too, is that, like, performers on those shows and stuff, a lot of them feel like they have to do something dramatic to crack out of it. And if you look at, like, the history of those shows, a lot of people were doing that. And I think it's kind of changed now. I think it's a little better now, but there was like a period there where it was, it was like Miley Cyrus and people, doing absolutely everything they could to change their image, Now,
in 2003, you were on Last Comic Standing. We're going to start talking a little bit about your stand-up comedy here. Before that appearance, how long had you been working on your stand-up routine and in preparation for the show? And obviously you had probably been on stage before that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been doing stand-up 16 years. I'm sorry. I've been doing stand-up 15 years currently.
Okay.
And so what would that have made? That it's 2020. I would have been doing stand-up about 2 years, maybe. Is that right?
Well, I think that was 03 is what I show your performance being on. So probably at least since 03, right?
Yeah, something like that. So, wait, so give it to me again. What was the year?
So I show that you were on Last Comic Standing in 2003.
Right. Okay. Yeah, maybe 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. I don't know. The timing on there might be a little weird.
Okay.
Like on IMDb and stuff like that. I'd been doing stand up for maybe a year when I did Last Comic Standing. I was very, very, very new. And it was like, it was a really crazy experience. And here's why is, so on the show at the time, there were 3 judges, Kathleen Madigan, Ant, and a guy named Alonzo Bowden. So those were the people who judged whether or not you made it from your audition into the evening showcase at the Hollywood Improv, where you would do the big performance on TV, right? Mm-hmm. So, I waited in line for like 25 hours. Like I stood in front of the Improv for a little over 24 hours.
Wow.
With, tons and tons of comedians that I knew, and, took time off work and all sorts of stuff to go and do this. And I just figured, I've got maybe a good 8 to 10 minutes of stand up. I was like, I should just do it. And I love doing stand up. So I was like, hey, it'll be fun. I'll do some different bits and try it out and whatever. And I didn't know who the judges were. I just knew that it was going to be fun. Once I found out who the judges were, I was like, okay, well, I've performed with Ant and I've done stand-up shows with Alonzo Bowden. Both those guys have been doing stand-up for like a million years. I'd never met Kathleen Madigan, but I knew who two of the judges knew my face.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether they thought I was funny, I have no idea. But I was like, I at least know two of these people. So I waited in line with all these folks, and then I got in to do my audition. And I went in. I got laughs from both Ant and from Alonzo Bowden. And Kathleen Madden was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I finished, and she was like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I want to vote yes or no for him. And then Ant was like, I think he's terrific. And then Alonzo was like, I love Stephen Glickman. He should go through. And she was like, I mean, I guess. And so then they sent me through into the evening. And I was like, oh, my God, I got into the evening show. This is crazy. And the evening show was jam-packed with, like, huge people. Amy Schumer was on, and Linnell and John Reap and all these wonderful, wonderful comedians. And I was terrified and super nervous about doing the show because I was still a very new stand-up comedian, especially as I was a very new comedian at the Hollywood Improv, where that's now like one of my home clubs where I perform all the time. And I was just so worried that I wasn't going to be good. And I went up in front of everybody, and I just totally crushed on the evening, and I had a great set. And I got off stage, and Peter Engel, the creator of Saved by the Bell, and also the creator of Last Comic Standing, came up to me and said, hey, how long have you been doing stand-up? And I said, I've been doing it for about a year. And he said, okay, we're not going to keep you on the show. We're going to send you home after tonight. But I want to let you know, we're going to make you look amazing. We're going to make it look like it's coming down to you and one other person. Like, we're going to make you look like a big star. And he was like, and just stay in touch. And if you want to come back in a few years, we'll have you back in a few years. And I was like, okay, Peter Engel. And then the show aired, and really, this is a super crazy thing. I didn't have a cell phone at the time because I was, what's the word for that? Poor. I was poor.
Not a lot of people had them then.
I was very poor at the time. So I didn't have a cell phone. So I called my answering machine to check my messages, because that's what you used to do in the old days.
Yep.
And I called my answering machine, and there was a message from someone at NBC saying, they're trying to get a hold of you. This woman is trying to get a hold of you. Her name is Allison Jones. And they gave me her phone number, and I called Allison Jones, the casting director who did The 40-Year-Old Virgin and The Office and a million of like the biggest things ever. And I called her up on the phone, and she was like, oh my God, I watched you on Last Comic Standing. You killed me. I need to meet you immediately. And I went in and met with her, and she literally helped me get my first manager in town, and like sat with me and went through all the people that I just listed all the celebrities that I knew to her that I had met in town and comedy clubs. And she was like, okay, this person, let's look up who their manager is. Let's look up who this one is. And she like told them, the first manager I got, she made sure that they knew that she was into me and wanted me for stuff. And it was amazing.
That was a life-changing experience.
Life-changing.
Holy cow.
Yeah, really crazy.
Now, you have a new stand-up comedy album coming out called Voices in My Head. And so...
Yeah, it's actually out today.
Woo! All right.
Just on Pandora only. It is out today on Pandora and SiriusXM. But it is out everywhere else at the end of the month. Yeah, and it's called Voices in My Head. It's from 800 Pound Gorilla Records. And it's my first big album.
Now, at this point, you don't have just 1 year of stand-up under your belt. You have, say, over 15 years. So Was it hard to narrow down your material for what you actually put out?
Because it was going to be a Sirius XM, like Pandora deal, like there's a deal that was made with them. It had to be, the language had to be, as close to PG as possible, so that it can air on the radio and it can have, it doesn't have to be super explicit and stuff. And that's a big part of doing an album these days, is you want it to be able to air in as many places as possible. And to do that, you kind of have to clean up your act. So I did 35 shows in the month of July of last year, where I just performed basically every night of the week, and sometimes more than once in a night, kind of testing out segments and pieces and chunks and making sure that it all goes together. Because, it's one thing to have a couple good jokes here and a couple of good jokes there, but when you're trying to do an album, you want there to be a flow, and you want it to all kind of make sense. That's why I did the album, is because I felt like there was enough to kind of pair together. And I did leave out some stuff, of course, like there's bits and things that I left out that are, super funny, but they're just not appropriate at this point. And I kind of, was like, okay, we'll just, they didn't fit in with everything else. I was like I didn't do a lot of material about Big Time Rush this time on it, because I was like, I've done that a lot. And so I wanted to kind of, and I didn't, I talked more about, like, personally, like myself and my, weight loss journey that has gone horribly awry many, many times. And I talked about my girlfriend and that relationship. And I talk about politics, because that's such a huge thing going on. And just, like, just how how our president is just, he's just a fascinating character, and you have to be able to talk about these things and also give some people, some relief in the process.
Oh, that's what it's all about.
Making fun of different things. Yeah.
Now, I know we're on lockdown right now, but do you think you will tour at some point and bring this album to, all the jokes live in person around the country?
I hope so. Absolutely. I mean, I had some shows that were canceled because of this lockdown, and not as many as some friends that I've watched have, months of their shows just drop in an instant. But yeah, no, I definitely once this thing is over and I can get out there on the road, I'd love to be able to do that. I think that'd be so fun.
Well, I'm going to give you a heads up, because Milwaukee has a brand new improv opening up sometime after this whole thing is over. It was supposed to be this spring. I think they postponed it to fall, but brand new improv in Milwaukee, and that's where we are, and we would love to definitely see you come to town.
I gotta tell you, I didn't realize you're in Milwaukee. I have to go. I'm just kidding.
Come on now.
I love Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee, Wisconsin is one of the greatest cities I have ever performed in my life. I got to perform at the Pabst Theater in Milwaukee, and it was the most beautiful theater I think I may have ever been in my life. It is a fantastic theater. And that was, 12 years ago, something like that. But my God, what a beautiful place. And then I went next door to the Pabst Theater to a bar that was slanted. The floor was on was all built like you're already drunk when you're inside the bar. And I drank beer from the plant, like that was like sent right over. And it was the best beer I've ever had in my life.
I'm sure
I could have just stayed there. I love Milwaukee.
Aw. Well, I'm sure Elizabeth could tell me what bar that is, but I certainly don't know. I will ask her, though.
That's so cool that you guys are there. I love that place.
Yeah, well, you'll look us up when you come back. I want to make sure we get to this, though. We have a hook of our show as Fancounters, right? So we want to hear you tell us some stories that you've had with your fans. So we don't want to just hear all the fun ones. We want to hear maybe if you have a creepy fan experience or a weird one. Give us some interactions that you've had with your fans.
Look, my fans are magical and amazing people. And there is a big difference between what my fan encounters are like now and what my fan encounters were like at the time of the show.
Right.
Because at the time of the show, I was basically just, it was like me and single moms, was my whole thing. My whole life was just me sleeping with single moms, that liked the show, that had kids that liked the show. And I would go and meet these moms, and I was just dating moms. And I would I'd go to San Diego just to hook up with them, with like a very nice, lovely mom. And that was like my whole thing. And then I got a girlfriend, and that all stopped. But there was one time where that happened, and then we went to sleep, and then I woke up in the morning, and I went down with the mom to have breakfast, and then the kids got up in the morning to go to school, and they were like, "Why is Gustavo from Big Time Rush in our house?"
Oh, that's going to be a hard explanation.
And I was like, because I'm sleeping with your mom. Have a great day at school, kids. So that was weird.
Scarred
that
for
was
life.
A very weird experience.
Yeah.
I'm happy those experiences are over, because that was creepy. That was a little strange thing.
Alrighty then.
But yeah, man. Is that what you were expecting?
Not at all. Not one bit. Makes sense.
Well, I would go do stand up, and a lovely lady would come up to me after the show and be like, "Oh my God, I'm such a big fan of the show. I'd love you to, sign some autographs for my kids." And I go, "Oh, where are they?" And she'd go,
"At home.
They're at the house, and and they'll be up in the morning.
Oh,
so
no.
you want to come over?" And I go, "Oh, okay." And then that's how my life was. That was my life for a little while there. It was pretty weird, man.
It's weird.
Pretty weird, that was something. And then I've had, I've had experiences as a, where I will have sometimes I'll have people reach out to me, through the internet, and they'll ask if I can wish someone happy birthday, or if I can, do, things like that. Like that happens. That was happening, for years and years and years. And it was like, I was like, I don't know. I guess I can make a little video or this or that. And then Cameo came along. That company?
Oh, I do. I was going to mention that to you. Are you on that?
Oh yeah, and it did very well for me. It was extraordinary, and I got to help guys ask girls to prom, and I got to break up with a guy for a girl. I got to tell a guy that it's over, and that that they're no longer going to be dating. I've gotten to do some really funny, weird stuff on there, which has been really, really fun. I think I've done 400 cameos,
wow.
500 cameos,
oh my gosh,
something like that, which is pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then the fan experience now, the way that things are now, is most of my fans from Big Time Rush are now in their 20s, and they all work at, stores and the movie theaters and restaurants, and, they're either like out of college or they're in college and working out in the world. And like I just did my first stand-up show at USC, and it was packed, and so much fun. And those, kids are just amazing. But it's a fun thing to like go to the movie theater, and then all the guys that work behind the counter, selling popcorn are like, "You are my childhood. Like you like made you're like my favorite show growing up." And like, that's so cool. Like that's such a fun version of this experience that I get as an actor and as a person that's gotten to be lucky enough to get involved in this wacky business,
Well, and look, you're getting that reaction, which is way better than all the stuffy reactions that the other actors on better shows are getting, so you can't really top that when you go out and people tell you how great you are. I mean, who doesn't love that?
Yeah, no, like, and the thing is, like, when you're on an adult television show like CSI Miami, like or NCIS or something, those are cool shows. I would love to do an episode of one of those shows. But like when you have a fan from those shows, they come up to you and they say, "Oh, hey, I really loved your work," and you go, "Oh, thanks. That's cool." As opposed to like when you're on a kids TV show, you have kids do stuff like start crying in the mall and pointing at you,
Yeah.
or like tap you on the shoulder in the middle of the movie theater and like tell you that like you changed their life, or like young people are they're so much more active, in the way that they talk to the people that they care about. I love having a young fan base. I think it's awesome.
Now, before I let you go, I have one question. I saw that you had an honor of throwing out the first pitch at a Padres game. I did the same thing for the Brewers last year. So it's first of all, it's a very fast thrill. I'm sure you can agree with me there. But did they not let you walk on the mound, or were you a little afraid?
Oh, I think they told me where to stand.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, I'm not athletic or good at sports or know anything about sports. So I was just like, sounds good. Like, whatever you guys want to do, I'm okay. I'll stand wherever they want me to stand. But I'll tell you this, I got it right into the catcher's mitt. He caught it when I threw it, and I instantly became the most athletic person in the history of my Jewish family. There has never been anyone better at sports than me. Right. And I get to brag about it whenever I see my family.
They're great pictures, too, so you got that memory.
Thank you. Thank you, bud.
So you got the new comedy album. It's out today. You can go out and listen to it now. That's called Voices in My Head. Yeah. Do you have other projects that you want to pitch that you've got coming up that you want us to check out?
Voices in My Head, this album is the most ridiculous thing. And if you need some laughter, you need some, like a release from the tensions that everybody is kind of going through right now. It is ridiculous. There's no point in the album where I get like really serious and like talk about serious subjects and make it is a very ridiculous album. Where I do like something like, I think I do 22 different accents throughout the album.
Nice.
A lot of impressions of like family members and random people that I've had encounters with over the years. And, it is definitely worth listening to, and something I've been working on for a long time. So I hope people check it out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Stephen, so much for joining us today on Fancounters. We do appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks again for having me.
My thanks to Stephen Kramer Glickman for his appearance on Fancounters today. We hope you guys have a great weekend. Last weekend was Easter, and as you know, it was a lot different for all of us because we've all been staying at home and not getting together with family. So this year with my kids, we did an Easter egg hunt. It was supposed to rain outside, so we hid all the eggs in the basement. And then Sunday morning, it was like gorgeous. We're like, oh, crap. Should we go look for the eggs ourselves to hide them outside? And we're like, no, we already hid them. And the kids did the egg hunt. And then we did a air hockey tournament within the four of us and their family. And I did not win. My wife was undefeated in that tournament. She whooped everybody that she played. And it was a lot of fun. So I hope you guys had a good Easter. And we're looking forward to another show next week. Me and Elizabeth will be here next week. We taped a show back in March that we want to play for you, talking about a lot of stuff. And I think you'll find it quite fascinating to hear some of the takes that we have about reality television. In fact, we talk about a show that hasn't been talked about enough. And you'll hear about that next week on Fancounters. As always, send us an email. Let us know you're out there. hello@fancounters.com. And until next week, stay healthy. Stay safe, and always come back every Friday for a brand new episode of Fancounters. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.